Now, Miss Flarend, if you weren't a teacher, what occupation would you have?
Well, I was originally, I went to school for a lot of years for nuclear engineering. So I probably would have stayed in nuclear engineering, probably working in a lab or a university if I would have finished that PhD and teaching people and doing research on nuclear waste.
Now, what made you take that switch into teaching?
Um, there were so many people who misunderstood everything nuclear and were really scared of it. And we'd go out to schools and we'd go out to places and people were so confused and had wrong information. I thought I should do something about that. And that ended up being a whole lot more interesting to me than playing with neutrons. So, came with a mission just to get people more scientifically educated so we can make better decisions.
So that's how you became a teacher then?
Yeah. I left that PhD and worked at a private school because I didn't need to be certified. And then thought I'd try it. And if I didn't like it, I'd go back and finish it and make a lot of money. But unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on you guys, I liked it. So I stuck around and did the whole certification teaching thing for a lot of years.
Now, what difference do you see from teaching in a public school to a private school?
It's difficult because that was an urban private school. Part of it is just private schools can kick people out much easier, so you tend to get a little better behavior because you can just say you're out of here, right? You don't also have to follow necessarily as many rules and regulations because it is a private school, so it doesn't have nearly as much oversight. So some good, some bad.
And so you teach not only physics but that engineering class.
Engineering and energy and environment.
Yes. So what's like the background between the energy and environment and engineering? Where did those two come from?
So energy and environment is because students who are going to CTC don't have enough room in their schedule to get 3 sciences. So they double up as freshmen. So in addition to taking Earth and Space, we try to put as many people in energy and environment so they can get their other science. The engineering used to be an applied physics, and it wasn't serving anybody's good purpose. So 5 years ago, I proposed to Mr. Schreier to turn it into an engineering and coding class, so that because we didn't have any of that here at Bellwood, so that way people can see if they like coding, get their feet wet, see if they like robotics, at least see what that world is like because robots are everywhere. Code is everywhere.
Yeah, it's a more advanced coding compared to your block.
Yeah, it
that
is.
People are used to. Now, do you have a favorite lesson to cover in your engineering physics class?
Oh, I don't have a favorite.
Yeah.
It's so hard. I don't have favorites. Which one do I? I mean, I like the one we do with robotics that we just finished up because they have to. A lot of what we're learning about in robotics is that evolution has had animals figure out how to move things for millions of years. Not billions. So you base it on an animal, and they have to dig through rice and uncover a giant Hershey bar. And then, as you guys know, we then get to eat it.
Yeah.
So that's my favorite because there's all these different sensors, all these different movements that the students get to play around with and figure out how to work it. And every project turns out completely different.
Mm-hmm.
And what was your process going from like the Catholic school to how did you find about Bellwood here?
How did I find out about it? So I came to Pennsylvania with my husband, and I had to go to school for about a year to get certified because I hadn't had any education training. And then you just put applications, and I was at Bellefonte for a year. And then a friend of mine said, hey, Bellefonte's an hour away from Altoona. So they said, hey, Bellwood's looking for someone. And then I had a student who I did some teaching at Penn State Altoona. I found that student at Penn State Altoona who was from Bellwood. And I'm like, hey, you went to Bellwood? What Bellwood's like? And he said how wonderful it was. So I applied, and now I have a much shorter drive.
Want to go to our next section?
Sure. So we're going to take it to the outside of school questions. Jaden, go ahead.
All right. Now, what sort of hobbies do you enjoy outside of the classroom?
What do I do? I read a lot. I garden. You guys know I travel like crazy. Give me a plane ticket and I'll go anywhere and everywhere. Hanging out at the gym a little more lately. That's been fun doing strength training. And so much physics there. So it's both fun and lots of physics. In fact, I'm doing a workshop this summer teaching teachers about physics at the gym. So I'm going to combine the two.
Are you doing that here? Like
in Blair County. So I don't know where yet. Might be here. It might be at the gym that I go to. Former Bellwood student gym. What else? Stupid movies.
What sort of books do you like to read?
That's pretty cool that you didn't put the word favorite in there.
I was thinking about
what's your favorite book? No, she doesn't have it. Obviously science, I like quantum, but I also like history because a lot of the stuff we're facing historically, we've been here before. So science, history, sociology. I'm reading a book right now saying biochemically you don't have any free will. Everything you think about doing is already based on your brain chemistry and evolution and how you were raised and where you live and what you eat and if you don't eat. That's kind of cool.
And you said you like traveling.
I like traveling.
So if you could take students maybe in any class to like one place that you've been to.
Oh, students. Are they extremely well behaved and I don't have to worry about them falling off anything?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Overseas, the last place we went was southern Spain, and we hiked up the Rock of Gibraltar. That was cool because you're also in a completely different environment, and there is an Islamic influence, which we don't see in the U.S. in a lot of the architecture from back when they were more Islamic, and different trees and different language and amazing food. I'd go for that.
Yeah.
Solar eclipse in 2 years
Spain,
in southern Spain.
Are you going back?
I'm tempted.
I was
It's in
thinking-
August. It's going to be like 107 degrees, but I don't know.
I was thinking about it, but I'm also going to be in school, so that's more money.
Well, maybe you can get a grant.
Yeah, that's true.
You're going to be in science. There might be arranging some
might-
trips.
Yeah, that's a good point. I could go and do
That'd
study
be sick.
abroad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you go up on the Rock of Gibraltar and do it there too?
I think so.
Oh,
I
that'd
think
be
I think it's
awesome.
going to go right through where the Rock of
I
Gibraltar
want to see
is,
how
so.
like the animals there would react. Like,
The monkeys.
The monkeys.
yeah.
Just don't feed them; they bite. I did not get bit. I'm not an idiot, but they do bite people every year.
You're notorious for being one of those teachers who puts in grades at like 2 a.m. So, what's the longest you've gone without sleep, and why?
Iceland, when we got to Iceland, and then the whole trip, the whole idea of not getting jet lag is that you don't go to sleep, so you adjust to the time. So that, I think, was at least 36 hours.
Yeah.
Because I didn't sleep on the plane. It was too uncomfortable, horrible seats. But then you got there, and then we went and we saw lava, and then we went snorkeling through like a rift. So there was like one continent on one side, one continent on the other. And we just kept going and going, and then it wasn't getting dark because it was summer. So next thing we knew, it was like 3 a.m, and we were still like, we're away.
I don't know if that'd be more fun or like hard to do.
Well, once we realized it was 3 a.m, we're like, we should really think about sleeping. So
It just doesn't give you that like signal to go to sleep.
right, it doesn't. It's the same thing when I was in Finland. I didn't want to sleep at first. Then when I left Finland, it was in December, and all I wanted to do was sleep.
Mhm.
So that light thing is a real trigger on you.
Do you have any like hidden talents or anything you're really good at? Well, you're really good at like.
What am I? I don't think I have any. I'm gonna go no. I'm happy if I can walk down the hall without tripping.
Confusing names.
Yeah.
Oh hush! I swear that's his name in another life.
You know, she calls me Jordan.
I do not.
Yes,
Okay,
you
I
do.
did once or twice. It's because of your podcast.
That is true.
J squared.
J squared. Now, what was it like helping co-write a book?
Well, we did it during COVID, so we never actually were ever in the same state. So Google Docs or Dropbox is your friend,
Yep.
right? A whole lot of Zooms, a whole lot of researching. How can we my role was I knew the science, but also just how can we make people understand this?
Mhm.
So it was like, how can we make sure people understand that? Bob, what you wrote, I don't understand. What are you trying to say? And he would say, I'm trying to say this, and we'd go back and forth. And then at the end, it just gets down to really annoying details, which is an anti-talent of mine. So then Bob took over, when we got down to, should that be a comma or should that be
Yeah.
you do it.
How long did that take you?
About a year and a half. Because all the figures, because it's a math textbook with figures, also with matrices. So yeah, a lot of the
Yay.
formatting is what ended up taking a long
Did you
time.
have to do that yourself? Did you have to make those?
Yeah, you make it all yourself, and then the publisher gives you hints. But you give them all the work, and they do magic.
Yeah. I couldn't imagine.
It was an interesting experience.
I feel like it'd be fun though, as well.
Parts of it were fun, and I got to learn a lot. And we get emails from people asking stuff, and it's a British publisher, so then dealing with that time zone change when we had to try and talk to each other was another
that'd
crazy
be
thing.
Worse.
Yeah.
It was different.
Because it's
but-
what 6.
6 hours, yeah. But my co-author Bob, and just so Alice and Bob is a quantum thing, so I'm an Alice. My author was a Bob. He had published with them before, so he at least knew the ropes.
Mm.
So that was so that I could kind of learn what was going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And So what's your educational background? Like, where did you grow up?
Grew up in Chicago Public Schools. University of Illinois for my undergrad in nuclear engineering. Took a year off, did a whole bunch of internships trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. Grad school for engineering at Michigan, don't boo. And then my certifications through UPJ. So I did Johnstown for a little while. And then my PhD through Penn State in curriculum and instruction. And somewhere in there, I think I have a transcript from Ohio State.
You don't know.
So teachers have to always take more classes, right? So we just get things. So I found in Ohio State when I was applying for here and I was trying to figure out all the stuff I had. I'm like, Ohio State.
And then you went to Illinois right out of high school?
Illinois right out of high school, yeah. It's just like Penn State. It's a giant land grant school that does mostly engineering and ag. Mm-hmm. And the campus looks a lot like Penn State, except flatter.
Yeah.
Really flatter.
Now you had mentioned before that your hometown, there was a book written about it, or
I did say, yeah. There's a bunch of books around. So Chicago's my hometown, but this one was actually written about the steel industry in my neighborhood. So I grew up in my part of Chicago, almost in Indiana, is all steel mills. And then, of course, the steel mills, most of them closed in the 80s, devastated neighborhoods. Although my neighborhood's going strong. But yeah, they looked at the politics and the unions and why in the world did U.S. lose out on their steel mills. And a lot of it was about, keeping up with infrastructure. So that was interesting to read about where you grew up, 30 years after you left there.
Yeah.
So someone needs to write a Bellwood book.
yeah,
Mr. Naylor.
Mr. Naylor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
Mr. Naylor.
Well, he cares more about Tyrone, I guess.
Oh.
Well, we won't say that.
Who would write about the book?
That's fine. You
Vincent.
guys.
Vincent?
Vincent. I don't recognize that name.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought. Oh no, I guess that's Blair County. There was. I think it already happened. There was like some history thing at the.
Yeah, there was just something because someone writes. Yeah, I mean, people write books all over, and this area with the railroads and the mountain. I mean, there's lots to always write about. Johnstown reminds me a lot of my old neighborhood with the steel mill and the industry and things like that.
And Bellwood has a lot with like the chief, because up there, I think he lives somewhere with like the Native American, something like that.
I don't know what that's a thing here.
I thought there was. His house.
I learned something.
He lived in a cave. There's a cave up somewhere. It's not in Bellwood, I don't think, but it's up by like, what's it called? It's up by the dollar store, but like further.
There's a cave?
I'm being serious. It's like a hidden cave, but like you're not allowed to go to it.
I didn't know that.
Because people who try to go to it, yeah.
Do not go in caves by yourself.
My dad
it's very
was telling
dangerous.
me this because my uncle supposedly had found it before.
It's a family legend.
Well, but it's also like people stayed in there or something. I don't know. I don't know the full story. He was telling me.
That sounds like it's going to be like a Blair Witch Project film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can make a Bellwood Blair Witch Project.
Like that English one? That
Yeah.
satire?
Yeah. Nice.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us.
Yep.
Once again, I'm Jordan.
I'm Jaden.
And thank you to Miss Flarend.
Thank you.
J squared out.